Here we are. Congressman says socialist elite looking for excuse to declare martial law. So don't think that I came up with this on my own. There's a congressman from Georgia who says this is a stinking rotten fish and they don't want you to smell it. And he said the socialists running America are looking for an excuse to declare martial law. So we have at least one congressman, one out of the hundreds, who understands what's going on, is willing to say a word. That's Congressman Paul Brown, Broun, Republican, Athens, Georgia. And he gets standing ovations, and he doesn't charge a bagel and lox to come hear him speak. Look, let me explain something to you. What I do for a living is very stressful, and I don't really want to do it anymore, and I don't want to become the enemy of the government, but I'm doing it for a number of reasons. I am the enemy of the government. They have me targeted, and they put in motion banning me in Britain in order to silence me here, and I don't know what's coming next. So let's go to my biggest fear, that they're going to create a Reichstag fire in this country to find an internal enemy. What do you think the Obama administration is going to do now that they're cornered? Who is going to be the enemy, and how are they going to define it?
That's where you and I may disagree, only in the scenario, but not in the plot. You see a Reichstag fire. Here's what I see. Sergei Kirov gets assassinated, and suddenly gun activists, Second Amendment activists, gun owners are the enemy. I see.
Wait, who's Sergei Kirov?
Sergei Kirov was supposedly Stalin's right-hand man. He was the party boss of the Leningrad Soviet, and he was assassinated at his party headquarters in Leningrad, and that's what kicked off the Great Purge. And there's every reason...
Oh, in other words, they did it themselves and then blamed it on the internal enemy.
Exactly.
You mean like the man in the swastika this week who turned out was an Obama plant?
There you go. Okay, I read
the Alinsky school of go to the meetings where Republicans speak in the 60s and cheer them on while wearing swastikas?
Right. That's right. Duplicity.
Tell you where it's going. We're going to have a martial law will be declared in this country over a pretext. I'd say the likelihood is very high that the gang that has taken over this country will declare something, a pretext. They'll create it, the equivalent of the Reichstag fire, let's put it to you that way. And they will use that as a pretext to put in a form of martial law, which will be cheered on by ABC, CBS, NBC, and the other worms in the media. And I will tell you what they will use. I don't know what they're going to use. I don't know what crisis they're going to gin up, but they're going to do something. And I'm going to read you something now. Just before the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia in 1917, late fall 1917, which resulted in the rise of the communists, the rise of the Soviet Union, this is what was going on. There was a crisis affecting every aspect of society. The policies of the government had brought the country to the brink of catastrophe. There was disorder in industry and transport. There was difficulty in obtaining provisions, which, by the way, hasn't happened yet here. Gross industrial production in that year had decreased by over 36% from what it had been in the previous year. In that autumn of 1917, as much as 50% of all enterprises were closed down in major industrial centers. That has not happened yet here, leading to mass unemployment. At the same time, the cost of living increased sharply. That has not yet happened here because the Federal Reserve crooks are manipulating it. The real wages of workers fell about 50% from what they had been just 4 years before. That has happened. The national debt in October of 1917 in Russia had risen fourfold. That has happened. Of this, debts to foreign governments constituted more than over 20% of the debt. What percent of our debt in this country is debt to foreign governments such as China and Saudi Arabia? Is it 20% or higher? The country, meaning the Russia, faced the threat of financial bankruptcy. Well, we are bankrupt. We're just living on basically printed money. And the conditions I read to you describe Russia in 1917, just prior to the Bolshevik Revolution. Now, many of you understand what the Bolshevik Revolution was. Now it led to the collapse of Russia, the rise of the Soviet Union, and communism, etc., and the prison camps, the death camps, the work camps. And you say it can't happen here, and I'm telling you it is happening here. In my opinion, you can call it anything you want. I am not blind to history. I don't give a rat's behind what the vermin in the media say. I am giving you one man's opinion. And since when is one man's opinion illegal? Since when is it illegal for me to bring up historical comparisons and present them as a model of what I think is happening right now? When did that become illegal? When did history itself become illegal? Well, history became illegal in the Soviet Union. They rewrote the history that was inconvenient. And that is happening right now. It has happened for decades in the universities. It happens every day on the media. And when you have a man like me who is an independent thinker, who can put two and two together and doesn't like what he sees going on and fears for the liberty of himself and America, does that make me a man who should be silenced? Should I be silenced? Should I stop asking these questions? Should it be illegal for me to ask these questions? Should any questions be illegal in the United States of America? If you say yes, then you are wearing a swastika on your soul. They couldn't get enough of hating George Bush and the war in Iraq. All right, fair enough. It's America. You're allowed to hate who you want. How come they have nothing to say about the war in Afghanistan? Our airplanes are flying and bombing. Our men are fighting for their lives. What are we fighting for? I personally don't know what we're doing in Afghanistan. I actually don't know what we're doing there. I know what we were doing in Iraq, and I know we were on the wrong side. And I said it before. I said any airplane, any bomb rather, that has a D on it is a good bomb. Any bomb that has an R on it is a bad bomb. These are evil people. Liberals are the most evil people in the United States of America. Why do I say that? The reason I say it is that they want fascism. They call for fascism. They scream for fascism. They revel in fascism. They would love the government to put people like me in a prison camp. Make no mistake about it. You ask them, they'd sneer behind walls, and they tell you that. Yes, not only take them off the air, put them away in a camp. They're not liberals. They're progressives. Make no mistake about it. The word progressive is a code word for fascism. Now, there are true liberals in America, few and far between. I have met them and I speak with them. By and large, they're decent, peace-loving people. Most of them actually are libertarians or civil libertarians, and they believe in live and let live as I do. But the progressives who are running America today are not liberals. Obama is not a liberal by definition. I've called him a neo-Marxist. Maybe that's too much for you. What would you define him as? A good man who loves the middle class? Why are we in Afghanistan? I'll raise the same question over and over and over again. Why is Obama and the Axelrod machine from Chicago getting away with spying on Americans through an email campaign? Why are we in Afghanistan? Where have all the protesters gone? You know, can't you people in the middle put two and two together? All the left-wing progressives who claim they were anti-war were not anti-war. They were anti-Republican. They were anti-conservative. They have disappeared. They've gone away. They were funded by the left. They were funded by George Soros. They were funded by these so-called progressive groups. They've disappeared now. They're all working for Obama. Either they've been absorbed into ACORN or they've been absorbed into another proto-fascist group, but they're no longer out there, so they're not protesting. You could say they've been co-opted, whichever way you put it. There is no anti-war movement because there never was one. It was an anti-Republican movement. So I now make another prediction. I'm going to make a prediction on the show. After all of this domestic policy dispute is over, and it may be over sooner rather than later, there's going to be a growing anti-war movement in this country, and it's going to come from the conservative base. That's right, you heard me. The liberals of today are the conservatives of yesterday and vice versa. There will be an anti-war movement in this country, and it will come from the conservative base. It will come from ex-military in particular who understand that they're not Hessians, understand that the U.S. military should not be used as a Hessian force, a force for hire, and they're going to protest this war. It's going to come from within. That's my prediction.